With new details on then-President Trump's desperate attempt to overturn the 2020 election in his final days in office. The Washington Post reporting that the former president called his acting attorney general, Jeffrey Rosen, nearly every single day to press false claims of voter fraud and improper vote counts. Notes from some of those calls, taken by one of Rosen's top aides, could be turned over to Congress. And Rosen and the aide who took the notes could face questioning by committees looking into Trump's actions in the days following the election. Joining me now is Devlin Barrett, one of the Washington Post reporters who broke that story. Devlin, it's great to have you with us. So how likely is it these notes will be handed over to Congress, and what could their impact be?
Hi, Eamon. I think it's pretty likely they will be handed over to Congress. There's still a chance that Trump's lawyers could try to assert a kind of privilege on their own. But so far, as far as we know, that hasn't happened. And the Justice Department has sent a letter saying that they are not going to assert executive privilege over it.
Yeah, the Justice Department notified former officials this week that they could testify to the various committees investigating Trump's efforts to overturn the election. Are we likely to see Acting Attorney General Rosen and his aides called to testify? Do you have any reporting on that?
I think there's a good chance of that happening. Again, some of it depends on whether there ends up being a court fight over this, but it doesn't appear to be headed that way. And as long as it doesn't devolve into a court fight, I do think you're going to see Democrats in Congress insist that Rosen come talk to them about these conversations.
All right, we'll continue to follow the story. Devlin Barrett, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And joining us now to continue the conversation on this is Illinois Senator Dick Durbin. He is the Senate Majority Whip, as well as chair of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you so much for coming back on the program. I want to begin by getting your reaction to Devlin Barrett's reporting and what it tells you about Donald Trump's efforts to use the Justice Department to pursue his false claims of election fraud.
Well, it confirms many suspicions, but it also provides us with good news. It confirms our suspicions that former President Donald Trump was virtually unhinged after this election, flailing away in every direction, every court suit that he could file to try to push his big lie that this election had been stolen from him. So it confirms that. And secondly, though, it confirms the fact that Jeffrey Rosen, as has been reported, was being harassed and still stood his ground. Some of us were skeptical. Remember, Bill Barr left after saying it was largely honest and accurate election results. He was canned by Donald Trump. And in came Jeffrey Rosen, an unproven quantity. And he turned out to have the backbone to stand up to this president, by all reports. So that's good information to know.
Yeah, as I mentioned with Devlin there, the reporting came not too long after the Justice Department told several former Trump administration officials, including Jeffrey Rosen, that they, in fact, can answer questions from Congress about efforts by Donald Trump or his Justice Department to challenge, to stop the counting, or perhaps even overturn the results of the presidential election, which brings me to my question to you. We know you want to bring Rosen and others before your committee. When do you expect that to happen?
Well, we've got work to do. We've got to take a look at the notes and see what level of cooperation we can receive from Mr. Rosen. But let me tell you why this is important. This manufactured madness of Donald Trump about the results of the election has been bought into by so many Americans who are desperate to believe that he never should have left the White House. And if we're going to put any truth to dispel these rumors, we've got to come out with a complete record. Nancy Pelosi's doing it on January 6th. We need to do the same about President Trump's antics in the weeks preceding his departure from the White House.
Let's switch gears for a moment, if I can, Senator. About 2 weeks ago, a federal judge in Texas ruled that the DACA program for undocumented migrants brought to the U.S. as children was illegal and that it had to stop accepting applications. You are a leading proponent of the DREAM Act to protect these folks. Here's what you had to say in March about efforts to get that passed. Watch.
The vast majority of Americans of all political faiths support it, and yet I brought it to the floor 5 times, and I've been stopped by the filibuster 5 times from passing it. I had a majority. I didn't have 60 votes. Do I have 60 now? I think I'm close. And I'm going to sit down with members of the Republican side and ask them if they would consider supporting it. I think I'll have some support. Whether it's enough remains to be seen.
That was 4 months ago. Since you made those remarks, have you been able to get any closer to the 60 votes needed to get the bill through the Senate?
Honestly, I have not. We still have a handful of Republicans that I think would support the DREAM Act or DACA if given an opportunity, but we're looking for other alternatives, and the reconciliation bill may be one of them.
Do you know what the reasons they give you for the holdup is? Why are the Republicans not getting on board with this for you?
Because they're two pillars of the re-election campaign for Republicans in the next election. The first is to argue that the Democrats are soft when it comes to law enforcement. Pretty tough argument to make when the Republicans have done everything they can to diss the Capitol Hill police and to stop any inquiry into what happened January 6th. And the second one is we're going to unleash all of these would-be terrorists into the United States if we allow the DACA kids who have been here all their lives to become citizens of this country. I don't think either argument's very strong, but they're sticking with them.
So what do you plan on? I know that you're supposed to be later today being part of a group of Democratic senators and House members talking to the president about immigration issues, including DACA. What do you hope will come out of this meeting, and will Democrats try to use the reconciliation bill as a vehicle to tackle immigration?
I'm not going to rule out the reconciliation bill, and I will just tell you that I think the purpose of this meeting is to fortify our belief that this president is committed to those who receive DACA and eligible through the DREAM Act, as well as others who will be worthy citizens of this country if given a chance. Many of these people have been on the front lines of fighting the COVID-19. They are responsible for our food supply with the backbreaking work they do in the fields, and they want to be given a chance to become citizens of this country. We got a long process in most of the legislation to achieve that, but it's a fair process, and I think President Biden supports it, and I think he's proven that by his own record.
All right, Senator Dick Durbin, sir, thank you for your time. Greatly appreciated, as always.